go through things on Friday night against the Broncos?
I think we're going to talk through a lot of that this week. Obviously, it's an organizational decision from the top down. So, but yeah, I think we're certainly getting closer, and then have a couple more days to figure it out here before Friday.
I know it's a preseason game, but does it mean something to you to get a chance to call these plays in a game situation now?
Yeah, I think all these games mean something. It's an opportunity for me to knock some of the rust off and do some things for the first time, myself, and the communication with the quarterbacks, the rest of the offense throughout the game, and chance for those guys to go out and compete against somebody in another jersey, which I know they're looking forward to. So really excited about the opportunity.
Aside from just personnel, but just what's your approach to preseason games, especially this first one, in terms of what are you trying to get accomplished?
Yeah, and I think that changes each week depending on who's healthy, how far into things we are, how long we've been together. So, I think a lot of it is knocking the rust off, getting comfortable in game day operation, communication in and out of the huddle. And then anytime we go out to play, we're going to play to win. So that's certainly going to be a part of what we're doing on Friday.
Should his number be called during the regular season, how much do you give to Clayton Tune's reps during the preseason, his exposure?
Yeah, I think it's big. I think it's big for any rookie. I mean, this is their first opportunity to play NFL football with the lights on in front of the fans. And you talk about it, you certainly prepare for it in practice and go through the mental gymnastics of what it's going to feel like. But I think the first time you do it, it's different. So I'm excited to see those guys go out there and compete.
What does Zach Pascal bring to the offense, and why would it be important to have a guy like that?
Yeah, I think he brings a lot. I mean, certainly he's a pro. He's played at a very high level for a long time. Brings a lot of experience. I think a lot of toughness to that room. So I think as a young guy, you come in the league, and I've been around a lot of guys who have done this. If you want to look at an example, some rooms have them and some rooms don't. And that's been true everywhere I've ever been. And so for guys that are coming to that room for the first time, he's a great example of, hey, this is what it should look like in terms of the way you practice, the way you prepare, the type of teammate you are, the way you play the game at that position. So it's been fun to work with him.
Concerned at all with trying to get some rotations with the starting offensive line?
In terms of just who's out there and things like that? Yes and no. I think a lot of that is the communication piece of it, and it's kind of that almost like nonverbal understanding, I think, can take place in practice. But certainly you want to get as many game reps against a different front, different personnel, where there's some unknowns, right? Because out there at practice, by about the third or fourth day, you're going against the same guy or the same type of guys, the same technique. So I think it is nice to get, again, a different color jersey, different people, different techniques where you can kind of work through some of the other stuff.
As part of that unknown that you probably just don't know a whole lot about the guys in certain stages of the other team, who's going to be out there, and know that much about them, not game prep.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that's kind of the excitement and certainly a little bit of the the nervousness around some of these preseason games. And the focus for us, and I've expressed this to the guys, is it's about us. It's about technique. It's about fundamentals. It's about doing the simple things well. And then we'll let the scheme and those type of things take care of themselves when we approach the season.
Clayton Tune, how would you prioritize what you want to see ideally out of him?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's something we're going to talk to him and have talked to him a lot about. I think a big part of that's going to be the operation of just getting in and out of the huddle, making sure we're crisp and clean at the line of scrimmage, and then it's decision-making. I think one of the biggest things at the quarterback position, we have to trust you to take care of the football in the way that you handle it in the run game and the way you make decisions in the passing game, and then certainly the physical tools of throwing the football. But I think everything before throwing the football is really what we're going to look for from that group as a whole, and Clayton's no different.
What does Marlon Mack add to that group, and how do you envision him complementing James Conner?
I think the conversation around him is a lot like Zach. He's a pro. He's done it at a high level. He's come in and really integrated himself well into the offense. So looking forward to seeing him out there, letting him get a chance to go compete, and he's been great.
JG has said that he wants the players to showcase their personality within their play. How have you seen that so far?
I think a big piece of that comes out on game day. Obviously it's not live in practice, but I think you get a sense of the attitude, the physicality, the love of the game, just in terms of the way they go out there and practice. And then you kind of certainly expect that to kind of take the next step when it's live.
Daniel Arias as a number 2 on that depth chart at one of the receiver spots. What can be sort of inferred from that, and how is he looking out there to you?
Yeah, he's doing a good job. I think the big thing with some of these preseason depth charts, I know a big deal is made out of them, but that's very fluid. I mean, throughout the course, we have another month before we play games, so I think it's an opportunity for those guys to go compete. But would tell them the same thing. I wouldn't read too far into it. We all have a job that we have to earn over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and Friday night's kind of that first step.
How do you evaluate where the offense is now, opposed to what it was starting out with a new system, and how's everyone taken to it, basically in terms of knowing what they're supposed to do and being where they're supposed to be?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I think these guys have really embraced that challenge. Certainly the language, the understanding of what we're asking them to do, the technique that goes along with that. And then in terms of the evolution of the offense, I think my understanding of who we have out there has improved. So trying to start tailoring it to the guys that we think are, better or have a little bit more ability to make plays, that's where the offense has to go. And I've certainly tried to embrace that here as we've gone through camp.
The two guys you got from the USFL, the NonDavis Brothers.
Yep.
How much can they make inroads as receivers? How much of it is what they can do on the return game, and then maybe what they can add as receivers? Kind of how are you looking at them right now?
I think it's both, and I think they're going to have the opportunity to go out these next couple weeks and show that. I also think in the NFL, if you're not the one or two, you better be able to play special teams. I mean, I think that's probably said in every meeting room in this league, the first meeting. Hey, if you want to make this team and you're not the guy, you better be a good special teamer. And if you provide value there, I mean, the amount of stories of guys who first made their inroads on special teams and then became receivers, that's a long list of very talented players. I mean, I was with a guy named Adam Thielen who started in that role and blossomed into a great receiver as well. So I think both of those roles are going to be really important for them, and they're going to get the opportunity to go out and do that here these next couple weeks.
Evaluation of the offense so far, how much of an uphill climb has this been?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Back to the evaluation, what
Yeah.
Howard asked you about, how much of an uphill climb has this been just to figure out where you are, what you got personnel-wise, what you can and can't do?
I wouldn't say it's been a huge uphill climb. I think that's the fun part of coaching. That's kind of why we do the job. So I think we've really kind of, as a staff, embraced that. I think it's been a lot of fun to get to know these guys and to go out there and compete against our defense. And that's kind of what makes Friday night so exciting. We finally get to go do it against a different team.
Challenges as far as who's been available at tight end throughout camp. I think we saw Jeff Driscoll running some routes out there. I mean, as far as what you're trying to do and install as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think that's always a little bit of a tricky part of this game. I mean, dealing with injuries, being able to adapt and saying, hey, we can't just be this because we want to be that. We got to make sure we got the guys out there to do it. So the more you can do for Jeff, he's been great at accepting that role and certainly something he's done in his past. But at any position, when you lose a couple guys and you're trying to get the proper amount of reps for guys so that they're ready and acclimated for week one, it certainly creates some dynamics that we have to work through and make sure that we're taking care of these guys while still getting them ready to play.
Not only that coaches getting used to all the new players, but also a lot of coaches you haven't coached with. How's that gone for you? Like just integrating everything with all the offensive, all the different assistant coaches on offense.
Yeah, I think it's been really good. Really, really excited about the staff we put together and kind of the way that we've gelled. I think that's been really fun. That's one of the things when you get away for camp and you're kind of in the hotel that you really get to know guys and you're around them a lot, which can be a lot of fun. And most of these guys I had some type of relationship with prior to coming here, so I had an idea who they were and what they're about. And I think they've gotten to know me better. And then certainly the on-the-field communication going through that, kind of that Saturday mock scrimmage that we had and going into this game is going to be an evolving process that I'm excited to work through.
To get Trey McBride back in there pretty soon, and you feel like he can catch up after the time he's missed?
I think he's done a really nice job. I know dealing with the injury can be tough, but he's done a great job in the meeting room. I think asking questions, being involved, and making sure that he's not falling behind. So looking forward to getting him back out there whenever he's ready.
The undrafted guys know that their odds are a little bit longer, I guess. Is there ever a special message or something you want to tell those guys at the outset of camp, just to make them understand, what it's going to take?
Yeah, I think the first thing I try to tell them is I don't want them to have that attitude, and not to poo-poo the question, but I want them to feel like, hey, your chances are just as good as a first-round pick, and you got to come in here with that expectation in terms of the way you play, the way you prepare, and if you're the best guy, it's going to be your job. So that's got to be your mentality as you go through meetings, as you go through walkthroughs, as you go through practice, and then you get the opportunity to show that during some of these preseason games. So excited to see those guys go out and compete.
Use that example of Thielen with the guys when you're talking to them?
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a number of guys in my time in Minnesota and Cleveland that would kind of fit that bill. And I think, obviously the more well-known ones resonate, but I think those guys certainly are aware of that, whether I bring it up or not. It's motivating. I think it drives a lot of those guys to become the players that they become.
JG said the next thing he wants to see from Michael Wilson is if he can get open against Patrick Surtain on Friday. What do you want to see from the rookie wideout?
I think it's going out and competing and run the game, pass game, whatever it is, doing his job at a high level every play. I think one of the things you're going to look for with a guy who has his type of talent is consistency of being that same guy every down, going out and competing and knowing that when your number's called, we know you're going to go out there and make the play.
The running back room behind James Conner, how wide open is that right now, and how do you assess that competition?
I think a lot of that's going to come down to some of these game reps. I think one of the things that's hard at times when you're not tackling at that position is it's very different than it's going to look like in a game at practice. So I'm excited to see those guys carry the ball and go out and compete.